Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Unbalanced with me, Cerys Davage, and Happy New Year, happy 2025. I hope you're all doing well, hope you're having a lovely start to the year. 2024 has been and gone, but it doesn't necessarily mean we need a new chapter. It doesn't necessarily mean we need a new me. You know, everyone is obsessed with new year, new me, but I'm just going to carry on as normal. You know, resolutions are okay sometimes, but I feel like they can be overdone, they can be overrated, and sometimes it's okay to just want to get through, and that can be enough. I'm proud of you for surviving another year, and we're back, and I'm so excited to catch up with you guys today and to do my first ever part 2. Back in October 2023, I did an episode on the reality of living with a progressive disability, and that's done really well. It's one of my favourite episodes to this day, and there's a reason for it, you know, it's just being real, it's being honest about living with a progressive condition. And I have made some notes and I've got some more things to discuss since that last episode, but I do recommend before listening to this one, if you haven't listened to part 1, it's episode number 8. You got to scroll way back because, you know, we're in the 40s now. So yeah, I would recommend listening to episode 8 first, just to get kind of a background and a bit more information, because I'm just going to be carrying on and talking about some new things that I have learned and things that every person with conditions like mine go through. There's a lot of things that people like me with progressive disabilities go through that no one really knows about. So I just thought I'd sit down and chat about some of them with you guys today. But before then, I want to ask you guys, how was your Christmas? I hope you had a lovely time, whether it was with friends, with family, or just chilling by yourself. I had a good balance of it. I went home to see my family for a couple days over Christmas, and also I went up north then to Tristan's family to see his family, and then otherwise I've been chilling in the flat by myself, getting some stuff sorted and working. Work doesn't stop over Christmas, so I have had to work a bit, but I've been lucky to have a few days off, so I'm back to it now. 1st of January 2025, we're here, and I was supposed to record earlier today when the sun was up, but it was a really cloudy day. The lighting was just not very good, and you have my Mam Gee to thank actually for this tree. If you're watching the video version, the tree next to me that's all lit up beautifully, I ran out of batteries, and because it's the 1st of January right now when I'm recording this, none of the shops are open. So I was quite upset with the fact that this tree might not be lit for the podcast, but then I was on the phone to my Mam Gee and she pulled through. She said she had some spare ones, so I paid her a little visit today, and I'm glad to say she's back and she's looking gorgeous. Christmas was also a very exciting time for me because I did my first authored piece as a journalist, and it all came about because my work was planning our Christmas do, and because I'm now a part of the team, they have to obviously think about my accessible needs as well. They have to take that into consideration when they're booking venues to go and visit. So there was just no accessible venues at the end of the day. They tried so many places that either didn't have a lift or they had a lift and it was broken, and it really opened their eyes to the fact that there aren't many accessible places in Cardiff or just in general when planning a night out. So there was definitely an opportunity for me here to step in and do a little news story about it, and it went so well. I have to do a massive shout out to Kieran Fitzgerald as well, who was also a part of this story and was able to shed some light on attitudinal barriers as well as barriers within the venues. It was just such a good story to do, and I'm just so glad that it went down well. All the outlets wanted it, radio, the English side, the Welsh side of news, and it's all available on my Instagram as well. If you look at Unbalanced Podcast, you'll be able to find the English version of the story that I did for TV, and also I did the Welsh version, which is available if you have a scroll through my profile as well. So I'm really, really excited to have done that. It's a nice way to end the year to do an authored piece. Then when I went home for Christmas, it was nice to relax a bit, but you do so much in the run up to Christmas, and whether you have a disability or not, you're bound to crash, you're bound to have no energy. And that is exactly how I felt last week. After Christmas, I realised that it was all catching up with me, and I didn't think I'd done too much, but I clearly had. I clearly pushed myself a bit too far, and I just had no energy last week. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll be able to tell, because I wasn't posting very much, but I was also sharing on my story just honestly how I felt. And it's really easy to feel guilty for having a rest day or for not being able to keep up with yourself, but actually you need that, and that is just what Christmas is for, to just give you that time to reset, relax, and not feel guilty about it. So that's exactly what I did. When I went up north to visit Tristan's family, I sat on the sofa for most of it, to be honest, because it was just so nice to not have to do anything and to just catch up with people. And it's the company that's most important, not how much you get done or how much you have to reset where you live or whatever it is, because I had a big list of stuff that I wanted to get done in the flat, but it's not happening, and that's fine. The priority is to look after yourself, so that's what I did, and I'm feeling a little bit better now, and I am very excited because I got a coffee machine for Christmas, and I'm very, very, very lucky that I got that. So I've got my cuppa, and it's so nice. I'm absolutely loving it. How was your Christmas though? Please let me know. And I would also love to hear what topics you would like me to talk about this year, because I feel like I'm going to start running out of ideas, and I'm going to run out of topics to discuss by myself. I feel like interviews are really good because I do a bit less of the talking, hopefully, and it's all about the other person that I'm interviewing. But the solo episodes, I want to keep that up. I want to talk about topics that interest you guys. I want to answer questions that you might have. I want to, educate myself on some new things. So please do let me know. I would really value your contributions to this podcast. So please either leave a comment in this episode. There'll be a little Q&A box underneath this episode, or also just send me a message on Instagram at Unbalanced Podcast, which has also just reached 1,000 followers, which is really cool. That happened a couple weeks ago, last year, I guess now. So it's really cool to say that within less than 6 months of me making that Instagram, I've got over 1,000 people following, which is really cool. So hopefully onwards and upwards for that account. And I guess I never really knew how much of an impact that Instagram would have, because I thought I've got a podcast, I don't need anything else. But the Instagram has really helped me connect with more people, and I guess built more of a community to this podcast as well, which is really cool. I'm also on YouTube, so don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube, Cerys Davage. And if you're watching on YouTube, hello. I really want to know what you guys want to see, whether it's more YouTube videos, whether it's more interviews and less solo episodes, whether it's episodes more often. Please let me know. I'm honestly open to anything, and I just want to know what you guys enjoy and to be able to cater to that. I'm excited to not only start a new year, but a new month as well, because Christmas is always really crazy. It's always really busy, especially with a disability. You feel like you have to keep up with everyone else's pace. Going shopping was a minefield, honestly. It was sensory overload, and I don't think I did as much as I would have, I guess, without a disability in town itself, just because it gets so busy, and I don't think I would have physically been able to cope. Shopping is a full-on activity when you've got a disability. It's not it is fun, if you pick up some bits that you really like, but it's also, you're putting yourself through a workout. You're carrying bags, you're walking around some really hot shops, but if it's freezing outside, the cold isn't very good either. You seize up a bit, and you feel time pressure, I guess. And you just rush around and feel pressure to buy things for your friends and family. And then, you have to come home and you have to pack them all up. And I love the process of wrapping presents. But you're on your feet for a long time, or you're doing a lot of intricate work for a long time, and sometimes you just need to relax. So I'm kind of glad that period is over, as much as I've loved this past month. I'm excited for a new chapter now of just getting things back to normal, getting back into a routine. And I don't know about you guys, but maybe the older you get, the less the new year is a big deal, I guess. I don't know if that sentence made sense, but I didn't really do too much this year. I saw some friends. I was working New Year's Eve, and then I saw some friends, and then just came home and chilled with a friend and saw the new year in, and then just went to bed. And I'm actually not guilty at all, and I'm so glad I didn't stay out or anything. Especially the last couple of weeks, I've had no energy, so I knew it was definitely the right thing, and it meant I was in a good condition to record this podcast today, which is something I really, really wanted to get done so that it was ready for this Sunday. Let's get into the episode. So, as I've mentioned, I've done a part 1 of living with a progressive disability, but another word for it is a degenerative disability. So, my condition, limb-girdle muscular dystrophy, is a degenerative condition, which means that it will get worse over time. So, as you can imagine, the older I get, the more I discover different things that is changing within my body and the way that I do things, the way that I live my life changes all the time, so I have to adapt to that change, and that's definitely something people with LGMD and other progressive or degenerative conditions do a lot, is to be open to changes within your body, within your lifestyle, within your habits, routines. There's always going to be some kind of change in your life. Like I've said before, I used to be able to go on runs, now I can't. I can still walk, but maybe in the future I won't be able to very much or at all. I need to be open-minded to these situations potentially happening. It's so important to keep an open mind and to not think too much about the future or have any kind of expectation for the future, because it's the same for anyone. You're going to get disappointed, or it's just not going to plan out. It's just not going to pan out the way you expected it to. So there's no point thinking about the future at all. Just live in the now and focus on what you can do. It's like my mantra. I do this all the time. Whenever I catch myself thinking about the future, I'm like, no, we're going to live in the now. Sometimes it's okay to grieve, but then you just focus on what you can still do. And that's really, really important. Being open to changes is such a huge thing. And I think it's kind of changed our mindset as well. We're more resilient in that way. And because of our disabilities, we're more open, we're more understanding, we're more open to kind of go with the flow as life changes, because you just can't set expectations because it's just not going to work out that way. So what's the point? I have thought about a lot of things that we have to adapt to as we get older, as we live with this condition, whether we like it or not. So as well as having to adapt to things changing in the future, I also have to adapt to situations right now. For example, if I'm sat at a dinner table, half my mind will be on, okay, how am I going to get up after the end of this meal? What's going to be the best way to get up? Do I turn and push myself up, or do I lean on the table to get up? Do I ask for help from someone? I don't know. I think I'm sat close enough to the table to be able to lean on it, or maybe I'm a bit too far away, so maybe I'll have to put one hand on the seat and then get up from there, or one hand on the table, one hand on the seat. Is the seat too low? Will I struggle to get up? Will I try to get up and then not be able to get up again? That is the kind of train of thought that I have whilst sitting around a table. And it's a reality for a lot of people with LGMD or other disabilities that whatever you're doing, half your mind will be on that thing. And if you're engaged in a conversation when you're going for a walk, half my mind will be on the conversation that I'm having with that person, and I'll be trying my best to stay engaged to that conversation, but half my brain is concentrating on walking. Don't trip, make sure you lift your feet high enough so you don't trip, don't fall. Obviously sometimes the fall happens regardless of me concentrating on walking, but it's a constant thing that we have always on our mind. We just always have to think about, I guess, what might happen if we don't think about it. I think what I'm getting from this is the fact that it can be quite fatiguing mentally, this condition, because you're always thinking about it. When I'm sat down now, I know the ways that will help me get up best, but the thought of having to do that now after this podcast and having to get up from this seat is tiring, because it takes a lot of energy to get out of a chair so low, but I love it. It's really comfy, so it's kind of my own fault. But anyway, it's just constantly adapting to things. Or if I'm stood somewhere with a group of people, I'm like, okay, well, there'll be about 5 minutes until I have to sit down. Or, okay, where's the best place for me to sit down without being an inconvenience to people? You know what I mean? Like, you're always thinking about how you will adapt best to that situation. No one else will know a thing. No one else will have any idea that you're thinking about how you'll get up from a chair after this meeting. You know, it's just something that's always on our mind. It's just kind of a subconscious thing as well, even if you're not like concentrating on how to get up or whatever, or how to walk. It's just a subconscious thing. Like, you're always gonna have just a little thing at the back of your mind, like, right, okay, I'm gonna have to do this, or I'm gonna have to get up from the seat in a really different way and people are gonna look at me weird and stuff. I think I've pretty much covered that topic, but yeah, basically, even though you might not be able to see it, we are always thinking about how we will adapt to situations and how we will get out of that situation in our own unique way. But it's also like, how do I do this in the way that's gonna attract the least amount of attention? Because the last thing you want is to draw attention to yourself. If you get up from a chair in a weird way, or if you walk funny and you're like concentrating on like staring at the floor whilst you're walking to make sure there aren't any bumps in the road that you're going to miss and trip over. You don't want to look like a freak doing that. You don't want to look weird, but essentially you might have to, and it's just a case of explaining to people like, sorry, like I have to really concentrate here. Or if you have to put the conversation on pause whilst you're walking just so you can like concentrate properly, so be it. And it's better to put yourself first in that way than have the risk of tripping and falling. Also, something I've learnt the hard way is that you shouldn't go on your phone whilst you're walking, because inevitably you will trip over something, or you won't lift your feet as high because you're not concentrating, and you will fall. So, also, I forgot to update you guys. I remember telling you guys that I fell back in October and I sprained my ankle, but I think it's pretty much better now. It took ages to heal, like weeks, and when I thought it would have healed by now, like, it still wasn't, and I could still feel it if I was rolling my ankle a bit. I think it's pretty much done. Like, if I'm rolling now in bed or like trying to get up from seats and stuff, it doesn't really hurt anymore. So fingers crossed, that's it done. Hopefully it won't get any worse now. I did find that swimming wasn't great for it at the start because I was like moving my feet a lot, and that was just really painful. But now I've been doing a lot more swimming recently, which is really good because I'm finally back into a swimming routine, which I love. But yeah, I think my ankle's done. I think it's done healing. Hopefully no more injuries in 2025, but touch wood. We'll see if that happens. Another thing with a progressive disability that I've noticed is when I was in school, I didn't really talk about it that much, and I didn't need to rely on people for help. I didn't need to rely on the public for help at all, because it wasn't something that was affecting me that much day to day. So I was pretty used to just living my life quite independently, but I guess you lose your independence a lot more as you get older, as the condition progresses, which is a hard reality to deal with sometimes, but it just means that you have to be more open to ask for help from other people. And like I've said before about self-advocating, it's just being open to asking people for help, because most of the time they will be willing to help, whether it's strangers, people at your work, family members. They should be understanding, and that's something I've had to do a lot recently, especially whilst traveling alone. And I'm not saying traveling in like backpacking Bali or something. I just mean like getting public transport by myself, or getting from one place to the other when I'm by myself. Something that happened last month was that I went to Manchester for a couple of days with work, and I took the train by myself. The whole trip was just a solo trip, and I had a suitcase with me, and there's always a big step to get onto trains, and trains are fine once I'm on them. It's just getting on and off that causes me a bit of anxiety. So I need to be open to potentially asking someone else, do you mind taking my suitcase and, you know, maybe giving me a hand to help me up. So it's all about adjusting to that and being open to asking for help instead of suffering alone, because the last thing you want is to haul your suitcase on and then the train is gone by the time you try and get up. So yeah, it's fine, you know, to actually ask someone else for help, because why would you put yourself through so much pain if you know that there's someone else around to be able to help you? And that'll just take the weight off your shoulders then, quite literally, if they give you physical help. And then I took taxis from one place to the other, from the train station and stuff in Manchester. And for some reason, the taxis were always huge ones that you needed like a massive step to get into. And I couldn't get up into the taxi because you needed to lift your leg up, put your foot on like inside the taxi, and then lift yourself up, like hoist yourself. And I just couldn't, like I don't have the strength for that. So I was just doing that for ages, like struggling to get into this taxi. And the driver was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, sorry, I have a disability and I just can't get into this taxi." Don't know why I apologized, but that's just the kind of person I am. And this guy was like, "Oh, that's absolutely fine. I'll just get a ramp for you." And the ramp was really steep because I guess it's for like wheelchairs and stuff. But with his hand, like he offered out his arm and I like leant onto it and gradually used that ramp, which had grip on it. So I knew I wasn't going to slip off. That was much better. And that was like basically the only way I could have gotten into that taxi, unless I asked the guy to literally pick me up or like grab my bum and like shove me into the taxi. So I'm really glad I just said what I needed and that this is the only way I'm going to be able to do this. And, you know, people should be open now to helping people in different ways, even though they don't need that kind of help. Maybe other people do. So yeah, that was an experience, and it was, you know, quite humiliating for me at the time, but I got over it pretty quickly, and now I can share the story and hopefully inspire someone else to just be open about what they need. And yeah, just be open to help from strangers, because even if someone approaches you and asks you like, "Oh, are you okay? Like, what's wrong?" It's coming from a good place. So I'm over thinking that, you know, the world is out there to get me. They're not. They just want to help, you know? So I'm going to go right along with it. Something else that I think people just don't realise about having a progressive disability is that small tasks are a huge achievement for us, especially on days where we're not 100%. I love talking about the whole battery percentage thing and the spoon theory. A lot of you guys are familiar with that. I like the whole battery percentage idea. I'm not quite sure where I stand on the spoons thing, just because I never wake up and think, okay, I have this amount of spoons today. I just think about like what percentage I think I'm on. Literally for the past week, when I've had almost no energy, I feel like I've been on like 5% all day, you know, like I could fall asleep anywhere kind of thing. Today I'm feeling a lot better. I'd say I'm on like 50 or 60%. It's nearing the end of the day now, so probably, you know, down to like 40. But small tasks will reduce that battery percentage so much more than it would for the average person without a disability. For example, doing the laundry. I feel like that'll be a good example. So the average person without a disability will just chuck the laundry into the washer, you know, wait for a couple of hours until it's done, take it out, hang it up, happy days. But I guess they don't have to think about the small things like bending down to lift that laundry into the washer. And usually I need to lean onto something. If I'm leaning down that much and bending down, I need to lean onto something to give me some stability. So I've got like one hand on like the washing machine, and then the other hand is like loading the clothes in, and then I have to put the tablet in and, you know, lean on myself to get back up from that bended down position. And by the time the clothes are in and the machine is on, I need to sit down because it's like a lot of work. It's even worse when the laundry's done because everything's wet and it's much heavier. So that means I have to unload, you know, get back down into that bended position, unload all the laundry, and then drag the basket across the floor. There's no way I'm picking that basket up. It's full of heavy, wet laundry. Absolutely not. I mean, I find my own way of kind of picking it up somehow. I like grab hold to one side of it and like drag it up whilst I'm stood upright, rather than bending down and coming up with the basket, because that would just never happen. But, you know, usually I have to ask for help, and my boyfriend's really good at that. He would just take the laundry out of the washing machine and bring it over to the place where we hang up the laundry. But sometimes I have to do that myself, and today I have managed to get the laundry washed and it's in the basket, and I am stalling hanging it up because I know that I have to somehow get the basket up to a level that's, that meets my eye line kind of thing. So that's comfortable for me to take clothes out, because there's no way I'm bending down every time I need to take clothes out the basket. So that'll be fun to do after this, but I thought I'd save some energy and do this first and then waste all my energy on doing the laundry afterwards. Yeah, and there's the whole, bending down, I've got an era, so there's like different levels, and bending down to put clothes on the bottom layer and always having to lean on myself to get back up. It's tiring. It is so tiring. So that whole act of doing the laundry can take up so much energy, and even just thinking about it is exhausting, and it might not really be something that someone without a disability would even bat an eyelid at. Taking a walk for someone like me, that is an achievement. That for the average non-disabled person is nothing, Sometimes, if it's on a bad day for me, would be like running a 5K for a non-disabled person. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of hip movement and leg movement and muscle stimulation, I guess, that we just don't have that much energy. We don't have that much strength. So to be able to go out for a walk is a big achievement, and it's something that maybe some of you guys wouldn't even bat an eyelid at. You'd be like, yeah, I go for walks all the time. It's great. Keeps me going. I love it. But again, like I said, when we go out for a walk, we have to concentrate on us walking, which affects our mental state as well. Our energy will get drained even more because it affects us mentally, and we have to concentrate. We have to use our brains as well as our bodies to walk. And sometimes if it's a bit windy, we have to fight the wind. So yeah, I guess I just wanted to bring that to your attention if you maybe do stuff like that and take it for granted, that actually it's something to be really grateful for. Just going out for a walk is something really simple for some people, but it's something that a lot of people can't do, and it's an important thing to recognize and to be grateful for, and just not take things for granted. And that's another thing we do a lot with progressive disabilities, is to not take anything for granted, because you never know when you're going to lose the ability to do something. So yes, you can miss a lot of things that you used to be able to do, but you can also feel really grateful that you can still do as much as you can, because who knows if you'll lose that soon, So it's just the case of always being grateful for what you can still do. And it's just a good positive mental attitude to have anyway, because if you're sad all the time about the stuff that you can't do, you're going to miss what you can still do, But yeah, small daily tasks are a huge achievement for us, and that affects our routines as well. It affects my swimming routine, for example. I used to be able to swim a lot more than I can now, but that's because back in the day when I used to swim more, that would be the only exercise I would do. That would be the only thing really taking up a big chunk of energy. Whereas now, the whole act of before and after swimming is also very energy consuming. Like the fact that I have to get dressed, get in my car and get to my gym, get out of the car, walk up the ramp to the gym, get changed at the gym, get into the pool, like that will all take up energy. So by the time I'm in the pool, I've done quite a bit already, it feels like. So that means I can't overdo it. I can't tire myself out fully in the pool, because if I do, then by the time I leave, I'll have no energy left to get out of the pool, shower, dry myself, dress myself, sort my hair out, dry my hair, and walk back to the car and drive home. Like, I will have no energy left. So I do less in the pool now to compensate for all the energy that I'm using up before and after swimming as well. And it's easy to use up more energy in the pool because obviously you've got the water to hold you, and you don't really know how much you're burning off until you get out of the pool, and how much exercise you've done until you get out of the pool, because that is when you realize, oh wow, okay, I've done a lot of work. So yeah, I guess everything now takes up energy, and everything now is harder for me to do. So I have to be wary that my routines will change according to that, just to make sure that I'm still maintaining enough energy to keep me going to the end of the day. That's pretty much it for that one. I want to end this episode on a point that I did mention in part 1, which is that there are also bad days as well as the good days. And I guess I just wanted to speak about that again from a newer perspective of obviously recently having very bad days, very low energy days, and just recognizing how valid they are. They're both as important as each other. It's easy to think on those bad days like, oh, this is it, like I'll never be able to do as much as I used to do after this. Like when you have a bad day and you have no energy, you think that that is day one of the rest of your life. You're like, okay, well, I won't be able to do anything else now. I'll have this amount of energy forever. But actually, no, you'll bounce back quickly. It might take time sometimes as well, but yeah, no energy days are good. It's just a sign for you to just take a break and to just slow down and rest. And even though you might not want to, even though you're mentally like, I've still got so much to do, like I can't afford to sit down to just rest all day, you have to, and it's something so important to do. I guess your bad days will look different as you get older and as your disability progresses. My bad day was that I was still able to get dressed and get washed and things, and then I sat on the sofa and felt like I had no energy and just sat down and did nothing then and just chatted and stuff. But then maybe in the future my bad day is that I physically won't be able to leave my bed and I'll have to just stay in bed all day. That is the case for a lot of people, you know, so just being aware that your good days might become less and your bad days might become more sometimes as well. That's another reality check for people with progressive disabilities. But they're both important. Good days and bad days alike. They're both needed in life to just maintain a balance. And that's pretty much it for today. I hope you enjoyed this first ever part 2. I hope that you were able to take something away from this episode and learn something new. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I hope that if you can relate to this, that you know that you're not alone in this and we're all in this together with our progressive disabilities. It's weird how it works, but it's just nice knowing that you're not the only one going through this, and that's exactly why I'm here, to reassure you of that. So I hope you have a lovely couple weeks. Enjoy the beginning of 2025, whether that's just carrying on from before or starting a whole new life, who knows. Thank you so much to Cure LGMD2I for sponsoring this podcast. Another special shout out to my mum Guy for providing the batteries for these lights next to me. They're just like the moment, to be honest. They're the star of the show. Please keep sharing this podcast with your friends and family. Keep spreading the Unbalanced word. And I'll be back with you guys again in another couple weeks with an interview. Love you all so much. Bye.